Fox News.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Jay Bird.
And I'm Karen Larson. Thank you for being with us tonight. First this evening, a juror from the James Hogue trial says the evidence was clear. James Hogue did not do anything criminally wrong.
A jury found Hogue not guilty of charges. He embezzled a 90-year-old widow's life savings. 2 NBC 12 reporter Chad Nye covered this case gavel to gavel. He has the latest now from the newsroom tonight. Chad?
Jay, the jury deliberated 12 hours over 2 days, but not because there was dissension in the jury room. Today, one of the jurors told us they spent that time going over the evidence with a fine-tooth comb. For 15 days, James Hogue came to court and stood before the jury. That jury heard from over 60 witnesses, including James Hogue himself. Juror number 6 says in the end, they could only come to one conclusion.
We did not find any proof that he was guilty. Our gut feeling, our heart feeling, our religious motives, all those things cannot go into a case when you're trying to find a man guilty. And we did not find the proof, the actual proof in all the records that we went through.
But the acquittal isn't the end for James Hogue. He's indicated he may come back to court, but this time to confront press people he thinks ruined his reputation. His attorney hopes Hogue will find a positive future.
As to whether the impression left by all the negative press over the last 14 months is something he'll never overcome, I don't know. I think people are forgiving and they're resilient, and I believe in the goodness of mankind, and we'll have to see.
Now, James Hogue says that any money he might win from a civil suit would go back to the widow. Back to you.
Chad Nye in the newsroom. Thanks very much. You know, this case has been in the headlines for almost 13 months, and now that the legal battle is over, we wanted to know what you had to say about the Hogue verdict.
In one word, strange, because with all those charges against him, I would think, that, they probably would have gotten with something.
Well, I was surprised, but I always believe the jury hears more of the facts than I do, so evidently they made the right decision.
Also, I can't imagine how you can be someone of his profession and sign legal documents the way he did and never read them or pay any attention. I mean, I'm just shocked.
Now, James Hogue went from mayoral candidate and city councilor to district judge and defendant. Hogue has now gone from accused to acquitted. After charges he took an elderly widow's savings, the former judge walked away from court a free man. Mike Browning looks back at the trials and tribulations of a man charged under the law, exonerated by a jury.
A reassuring hand from his attorney, Clark Brewster, and James Hogue was finally able to turn his back on the courts and the media, to stand tall after months of feeling so low, to smile with his attorney and watch him smile back. He walked away from all the madness a free man, with more confident steps than he had been able to take for a long time. After months of being caught in the middle of accusations appearing impossible to escape, James Hogue could say, I've been vindicated.
Well, you heard from me December 24th. I told you the truth. At that point in time, it seemed like everybody in the media had turned against me. It seemed like everybody in this courthouse had turned against me. But there was one man in the city of Tulsa that when everything was falling against me said, Jay, I know the truth of this matter, and I'll back you no matter what.
What must seem like an eternity had been 13 months ago with his resignation from the bench.
Well, I knew nothing about the details of the transactions involved. As long as my name was listed as a co-trustee, I shared the fiduciary responsibility.
But his responsibility now, he says, is to the widow's $175,000 civil judgment.
We think there's some damages that are going to be coming. I'm going to commit those damages to try to get this widow paid off.
Money was spent. Now money must be repaid. Mike Browning, 2 News, NBC.
And don't miss 2 News NBC at 6. Our Mike Browning will talk one-to-one with Clark Brewster in depth. That's tonight exclusively on 2 News NBC at 6. Cloudy and cool today, but at least not very much rain.
Get in front of 12 good people of Tulsa County, and they hear all the facts in this case. This gentleman here is going to be a kid.
And acquitted he was. James Hogue is a free man tonight, February 10th, 1998. Good evening, everyone, and thanks a lot for joining us this Tuesday. I'm Mike Browning. The not guilty verdict for former Judge James Hogue has sparked strong reaction. Hogue had faced 23 felony counts, charging that he embezzled a 90-year-old widow's life savings. 2 News NBC's trial reporter Chad Nye looks at reactions to the verdict, including the views of one juror.
I'm for one. I'm speaking for myself. I'm for one. I'm very careful about what I do in life. And I would not take this lightly. None of us did.
That's juror number 6 explaining how seriously she took her duty in the matter of James Hogue. After 12 hours of deliberating, the jury found James Hogue not guilty of embezzling from the woman's estate. Colleen Pickens took care of the woman for over a year and testified for the prosecution.
Very disappointed and kind of angry.
Prosecutors brought over 500 pieces of evidence and 50 witnesses, including eyewitnesses who testified they saw James Hogue at the woman's house several times. James Hogue himself testified he was out of town on 2 of those occasions, and that raised questions about the others.
We listened to all the witnesses. We didn't have any proof that some of the witnesses actually saw what they think they saw. We went through that with a fine-tooth comb.
We presented all the evidence, and if that wasn't enough, we didn't have any more.
Hogue left the courtroom exonerated, but his attorney says 14 months of relentless press nearly destroyed his client.
I know that Jay was very, very deeply depressed. He's very despondent, and I can say without any kind of equivocation that he was very near suicide.
But James Hogue has a new mission. He says he may pursue a civil case against some members of the media.
We think there's some damages that are going to be coming. I'm going to commit those damages to try to get this widow paid off. When that widow is paid off, hopefully that'll do something about exonerating my wife's situation.
Kathleen Hogue pleaded guilty and will be sentenced next month. Chad Nye, 2 News NBC.
James Hogue says he owes his freedom tonight to one man, his attorney. Later, we'll talk one-to-one with that man, Clark Brewster. And that is our top story this evening, the jury finding former Judge James Hogue not guilty of embezzlement. We'd like to know what you think tonight. You can reach us on the internet at kjrh.com. Call us at 748-1444 or write us at 3701 South Peoria, 74105. Later we'll have some of your comments. And a lot of clouds today, but we missed out on that expected rainfall.
Clark Brewster.
Solid name for himself, especially during this past year. His most recent victory came only last night as he stood by a former judge accused of embezzlement. Next, we'll go one-to-one with Clark Brewster on 2 News NBC at 6.